Kia ora whānau. My name is Sue Fordyce, and it's my privilege today to have a look with you at today's reading, which is John 14:15 to 21. It's one of those tiny but mighty little passages. It's only 6 verses, but it seems to be full of hope. It just breathes hope. So since Easter, we've been on this journey, really, haven't we? First through the resurrection appearances of Jesus, and then in the last 2 weeks, meeting those two big biblical themes, the image of Christ as the Good Shepherd, and then Christ as the way, the truth, and the life. And now it seems like these readings kind of take a bit of a turn and start looking towards the future, looking towards what it looks like to be the people of God and to follow a risen Christ. So looking at this passage, John sets this passage into Jesus' last meal with his disciples, the last time he got to spend time talking with them. And in that context, you can just feel the weight of it, really, can't you? His deep desire to give a real sense of assurance and hope for his followers. Jesus is full of tenderness in this passage. And it's got this beautiful central statement: I will not leave you orphaned. I am coming to you. Evocative. It's got strong love written all over it. So when I looked at this passage, I realized that it was just packed full of promises. I tried underlining them all, and then found that I practically underlined the entire passage. Jesus says, I will ask the Father, and he will bring you a helper to be with you forever. He will be in you. He will not leave us orphaned. He is coming to us. We will see him, and because he lives, we will live too. These are beautiful promises. But Jesus being Jesus, there's never just a promise. He always weaves his promises into and with the call towards discipleship. So he says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. So when I looked at this passage, I thought about it in two frameworks. The first was, what does it tell us about the character of God? And then the second was, what does it tell us about what it is like to participate in God's ministry? Often when we read a passage like this, our first instinct is to take it at a personal level. And if, for you, hearing these words gives you strong hope, reminds you how much you're loved, then receive them and receive them deeply. But it seems to me that the second question, what does it look like to participate in God's ministry? What is this passage telling us about that? Then it seems to me that we hear some strong themes come through it. As Jesus speaks to his disciples, he speaks of love, he speaks of support, he speaks of solidarity, and he speaks of presence. And it seems to me as we enter into our level 2 life, in uncertain times, we still have the call to love our neighbours, to serve our communities. And for that reason, those words, love, support, solidarity, and presence, begin to really resonate. And so I want to encourage you this week to just reflect on what it looks like to be that kind of person for our neighbours. And as we do that, I want to tell you about, or remind you really, about the Thy Kingdom Come movement. So we are facing towards Ascension Day this Thursday, and then on ahead towards Pentecost. And between Ascension and Pentecost, the Archbishop of Canterbury calls the entire Anglican Church across the whole globe to join in prayer for God's kingdom to come. And so I just want to encourage you, any chance you get to be part of that movement and those events in the coming week and a half to come, take them. Because if we need anything, we need to pray. We need to pray that God will give us the power and the fire in our bellies to be the people of God for our neighbourhood. And so right now I want to finish by praying a prayer by Walter Brueggemann, which picked up these themes. Let's pray together. Loving God, you are the God who makes extravagant promises. We relish your great promises of fidelity and presence and solidarity. We revel in them only to find out, always a bit late, that your promises always come in the midst of a deep, hard call to obedience. You are the God who calls people like us. So we give you thanks that you are a calling God who calls us always to dangerous new places. We pray for enough of your grace and mercy among us that we might be among those who believe your promises enough to respond to your call. Amen.